Let's restart this. Hello, everyone. Got started a little earlier on Instagram due to technical difficulties. But my name is Justin Harris. I'm a coach with almost 30 years of experience racing and coaching endurance athletes, 10 years, a decade coaching speed and power athletes. This is my Monday Musings, where I get on my soapbox and I talk about concepts that are popping up for me and my athletes throughout training, things I'm seeing on social media. All right. And just things that I think about time and time again. So the long run, going long rides. Let's talk about it. I'm going to touch on the principles. All right. Some things about nutrition a little bit, and the don'ts, what not to do. All right. So first off is let me just get the chat up here. What's up YouTube and Facebook? So principles. All right. So when we look at principles of training or principles in everything, it's like what everything boils down to. All right. What's left over and what is the most important, when we're really scrutinizing things. What's up, Neil? And for going long, all right, for an endurance athlete, this is a high priority. For a sprinter or speed and power athlete, going long is not a priority, right? For the short stuff, I would say 400 meters and down, maybe even 800. Velocity is really important, how fast you're going and getting used to that. Whereas endurance running, it's about how much can you tolerate, how much load and work, we call it work capacity or endurance, that you can get done. Thank you, love. Wife brought the adult bevy for tonight, for the week. What's up, Brittany? So when we're going long, what are the principles here? And I would say the main principles for going long, whether it's cycling, triathlon, swimming, anything endurance-wise, right, is we're looking at, we want the volume to be more important. Awesome, Brittany. Yes, get a little ching ching. Hello. The principle is that we need to be really careful with intensity because when we're going long, it's not really a rehearsal for the event, right? So if we're running a marathon, like our long run isn't a rehearsal of the marathon, like the paces, the effort that we're going to do. It's just not. Otherwise, we're racing it, right? For the Tour de France cyclists, Tour de France just finished up. I mean, a long ride for them will be 8 hours and probably 170 miles, something like that, because oftentimes they're racing between 80 and 120 miles. What's up, Callan? So when you're going long, the opportunity is really just to go long and so that your body can tolerate it. So we can either do that with intensity. Like if I ask you to do 30 minutes super intense versus 30 minutes easy, right? They have different density, how hard it is when you combine those, the product of those two. If I ask you to go for 2 hours, but very easy, that's much different, right? So the main principle here is intensity. Too often do I see people trying to rehearse their events. So our going long is not a rehearsal for the event. It's an opportunity to get exposure to more. Strava did a breakdown on Boston Marathon qualifiers a few years ago. They have all the data that's objective. All right. It's not subjective data. It's not the athlete's data, right? And how they felt or whatever. And they found that the people who qualify for Boston Marathon ended up doing more volume, and more of their running was at a lower intensity compared to the people who were doing less. All right. So that doesn't mean if you're running 30 miles a week, you double it. The body doesn't like more than 15% increase each week. Okay. So if you're running 30 miles a week and you go to 45, that's a 50% increase. The body's not going to be able to sustain that over a period of time. So the main principle here, the first one, is that going long is about doing things that allow you to go longer. What's up, Nicole? All right. And so the intensity has to come back down. All right. The next principle is that um, it's something that needs to be repeated. All right. That and you're spreading out from other intensities, right? So like I don't like going like threshold into a long run or, like back to back days. I like spreading them out. So with that said, is this principle of um, that we need to rinse and repeat these, right? So week in and week out, that we need to get exposure to this because like there are like multiple, like think of multiple, like kind of like sine wave curves or different curves, right? Like, so there's an immune response, there's like a muscle response that's shorter, there's like a nervous system response that's later. Like all these things are happening when we're trying to recover from something. And so when we're going long, we need space in between, right? And when you can repeat it often, like sometimes, like when I'm trying to get people's volume up, I'll do doubles. This was more in college. Or I'll do like a midweek longer run, like during the week. So instead of like 5, I'll do like 8 or 9. And then their long run is like 15 or 20. For cycling, this is much harder because it's way less intensity than running, and therefore you need to go longer. So, or a long run for like hour to 2 hours, like on the bike, that's like 2 to 4 hours. All right. And not all of us have time for that, but we're trying to get exposure to that. The biggest jumps I've made in my career have been when I've done for like about a month or so, just like slowly increasing my volume and then trying to sustain that. And by doing that, I have to reduce the intensity. Back to principle 1, be careful with intensity. Okay. So principle number 1 is be careful with intensity. All right. Principle number 2 is like we have to rinse and repeat this time and time again. All right. So um, those are my like 2 key principles with the long run is like, and then third, I would say don't force it, right? And if you need to cut back or, just like your week got away from you and you're more tired, or maybe training was really good, or you're coming off a race, you're tired, like don't force going long as maybe you had originally planned. Okay. Um, so nutrition comes into play with all this because nutrition supports going long. You're out there long enough. So we got about 2 hours of glycogen stores in our, liver and blood. And so when it comes to that, in races, this is where, like we hit the wall is around 2 hours. All right. And you cannot put back into you the nutrition that is that you're expending, the calories, right? But we can kind of like, it's like a decay function, like it either drops off quickly or it's dropping off more slowly because we're doing nutrition. And so for me, it's like if it's 90 minutes or less, you don't need too much nutrition unless you're doing back to back to back to back, training days and you're getting exhausted. But anything over 90 minutes, I'm using gels on running or carb drinks uh, every like 30 to 45 minutes. All right. And I'm just like making sure I have access to those. And then on the bike, every 15 minutes, I take a sip with some carbs, and every 45 minutes, I eat about 200 calories. So I'm getting like net like 400 calories an hour, more or less. And because on the bike, it's like things aren't jiggling around. Swimming, this is really challenging if you're doing like really ultra, longer swimming, like the 5Ks and stuff like that. And usually there's like a boat following, or there's like kind of an aid station where you can kind of like come in and like grab your thing and swim on your back and try to consume it. So nutrition has been the biggest game changer for me in the past, like when I finally figured it out. And for me, it's like intensity. Like the slower the intensity, the more the solid food, and the higher the intensity, the more liquid it is. And gels fit somewhere in the middle for me. So if you're trying to like lose weight, like the long run in training is not the time to do it. It's like the other 22 hours or 23 hours of your day, like that's time to kind of like figure that out, right? It's not during training, so be careful with that. Um, if you're on GLP-1s, you have to be careful too, because you're not like, you don't have the appetite, but still like you need to fuel yourself. And here's the key thing. If you get done with your training and you feel like, um, you're like wasted for the day, like you're on the couch, you really need a nap, like you can't really function, your significant other's like, what's going on, we want to do stuff, and you don't, I would say that's when, like you're not consuming enough calories. When you consume enough calories, okay, You get done and you're like, yeah, you're tired, but like you can still function with your day. So that's really important. The don'ts. All right. I'm going to keep this really simple. Don't force the training, back to the principles. Don't underfuel, and don't run fast. Right. It's not about running fast. And these are the biggest mistakes I make. See my clients make time and time again. My beginning clients or other people, when they're talking to me, I look at it and there's like way too much intensity. All right. Like even elite athletes are not doing that. If you're training 3 days a week, things need to be intense. As soon as you get to a fourth one, they need to be less. I feel like I'm a broken record on this stuff, but I think it's like it permeates throughout every bit of training, and I think it's important to understand. So, with that said, let's start chiming in. Is what do you come across when you're going long, and what things are you struggling with? So, Brittany, it's always hard psychologically to go slower because you're like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to go fast. Yeah, that's a common misconception, right? Is once you start understanding, like when you're going zone 2 and under, when you're training 4 or 5 days a week, right? Is that you're really building the infrastructure. Okay, it's like building the ground floor, all right, for what you're going to stack on top of it. And if you start pushing the effort and you get into like marathon pace, where that's like the yellow zone on your watch for heart rate, you can have a breathy like sentence, maybe a couple sentences, but you're not really chatty. You have to focus about your effort. I mean, from there, like we're building much less of like the infrastructure for the base floor, right? And we're more like working on like kind of building the next floor or like testing the system. And it's like lactate buffering and stuff like that. Like it's starting to produce it. So we're utilizing it versus like zone 4. If we're really like talking in like a breathy sentence, then we're really working on lactate tolerance. Like how much can we deal with? Right. So I think it's a good thing to talk about. And it's just like a common misconception that if I don't run fast, I'm not going to go fast, because what happens is you start building things from the base up, and it's like now instead of like tolerating 10-minute pace, now you can tolerate like 9-minute pace before you go to the next level. Well, guess what? The next level maybe was at 9:59 to like 9 flat. Now you're not getting there till 9, and then you're not getting there till 8 flat, right? And so it's like everything just compounds from there. So just keep that in mind as we enjoy our adult beverage. And Domaine Lesour. So this is a gentleman and his wife from France. They're in Cuca Lake, all right, near Hammondsport. And he's from the Champagne region. And actually, they're doing like, I'm really excited to go up there either at end of the summer or whatever. They transferred a barn from France, from their parents' property, that was built in the 1400s, and they're building up. Anyway, they do really good whites, and their bubbly is nice too. But this is a Gewürztraminer. Yeah, Gewürztraminer. And it's a barrel select. They actually put in a barrel a little bit, so for a little bit more of the darker color. I generally don't like barrel, but they don't leave it in very long, so it just gives it another note. But Brittany, I'm always so scared I'm going to lose speed with going slow. Yeah, that's the irony. Is like again, if you go slow, like the problem when people like zone 2 is ruining your training. It's like if you just do zone 2 every day, and even that, I would say there's a place where it's massively beneficial, and then there's a place where it stops. It's like kind of like a end curve, right? Like there gets to a point like it's better, 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 and then it's worse. And for example, I'll give the story of uh, Phil Maffetone, who is a doctor, like musician, coach, like he's a real polymath. And he was one of the first people to train with using heart rate monitors in the 80s. And so he was coaching triathletes. He lived in like Colorado Springs or Boulder area. And he started working with Mark Allen. And so Mark Allen was battling Dave Scott for the Kona World Championships, so the Ironman World Championships in Kona. And Dave Scott like whooped it, like beat him every time. And when Mark or Phil Maffetone started working with Mark, he basically made him run, I think it was like 5 months. It's in the Lore of Running, like this massive book on all these different training principles. But essentially what he did was he was like, it's going to be 180 minus your age, the MAF test, maximum aerobic functioning test, but it came from Phil Maff Tone. All right. And what ended up happening is every day he would run 5 miles at 180 minus age. He did all of his other stuff, biking or whatever. But the issue was he was fading on the run. And even though he won like Ironman Nice and some of these other these other shorter races, he could not beat Dave Scott. And Mark Allen, I think, had a swim background or whatever. So anyway, so he really needed to develop his aerobic efficiency. And so I think when he first did the 5 mile test, the Maffetone test, the MAF test used to be, well, it's like generally 5 miles. I find there's not much difference from 3 to 5. And so, long story short, is he had him run at 5 miles at 180 minus his age, and he's in his 20s, right? So it's probably like 20s, yeah, like in the 150s or something. And I think the first like couple weeks he was doing it, he was running like 9 minute pace for it. So quite slow for an elite like endurance athlete. And I think like he had him do that every day until like his time started dropping down, which told him he was becoming more efficient. Now, most of my clients don't have the time to do that volume nor the patience, and I understand it. But when I've been able to do those things, that's when I've anecdotally have made the biggest jumps in my training, and feel like a monster. So anyway, he ended up getting down to I think like 530 something for 5 mile pace at that heart rate over the years, right? And so it's just something that you got to develop, uh, and get going with that. So I think it's a really good thing. Anyway, um, Claudia, wouldn't you say consistency and when you run your long runs, for instance, Saturday is long run day? Yeah, I know we talked about this on our call a little bit, and like rhythm and consistency. Yeah, I mean, it needs to be spaced out a bit, right? And then the other side is some people like Sunday, because most people like raced in college and high school, you race on Saturday. And so that like Sunday was long run because like Monday's back to work and school. So I tend to shift things to Saturday, and it gives a little bit more space between things. But as far as like when you do it, it doesn't really matter. What's up, Debbie? Same thing for long rides. Like most people long ride like on Sunday and then they take off on Monday. Um, uh, yes. Well, this week is my second floor. Yeah, we're starting to boogie. Claudia's trained for Berlin. So gotcha, Neil. When you're building your weekly long run miles, at what point, example, after 4 weeks of increases, do you back off for a week to recover? So this is like more macro, like writing a training block. So I like 3 week blocks, so 2 weeks up and then 1 week down. It just stays ahead of things. I find if you go 4 week blocks, like 3 weeks up and then 1 week down, you're kind of hanging on for dear life. So yeah, so it's like, like you could go like 6, 8, 10, 7, right? And then 9, 11, 13, 10. It's still like a 3 mile drop. So it doesn't have to be a massive drop, right? Um, and that's a 4 week block, but it's like I like smaller increments. So it'd be like, 6, 8, 5. Uh, it'd be like 8, 10, 7, and whatever we're trying to get up to. And I might go even slower, but then I'm also inside of it, like doing like a flat run versus hilly run and some other things. But yeah, so um, yeah, I go in 3 week blocks. So like week 1 is like introducing the concept. Week 2 is like picking up the volume, not on everything, but on certain things. And then week 3, we reduce volume to absorb the training and pay down the credit card before it starts accruing interest. Oh, Moet de Chandon. That sounds delish. I don't know if they had it. What's up, Geek Mom? What's up, Adam? What's up, Kimmy? How you doing? But what is the gap between your long run pace versus marathon pace? Yeah, it could be a lot. So when an athlete runs a marathon, I always go backwards and see like how much time did they spend at where they ended up averaging for the marathon. And I don't like collect all the buckets of like how much exactly time, but although with AI now, I think I can do that. So if we like think of buckets of like zone 1, 2, 3 is marathon pace, 4 is threshold, half marathon pace ish, 5, whatever. And I'm being crude with this. There's like nuance in all this, but just for simplicity. Um, I would say, on like a flat long run for 10 miles, I bet you like most of the people are like the last, like early in the build, they're like running 1 mile at marathon pace. Like if we're being a little progressive, like maybe the last mile is a little bit there. And then like later in the build, they might run. So like, what's that? That one's 10, like 10%. And then it becomes like 15. And then I think it gets up to like 20% of the run will be there. And that's when people are like, say like, I'm just clicking, I'm flowing, I'm feeling good. Like, I don't even have to think about it, like it. But I also build out like goal pace or date pace, like let's like run some marathon pace. So if it's a 10 mile or 14-mile run, it'll be like 1 mile aerobic, 3 miles, um 3 miles at marathon pace, right? And then 3 miles out of it, so that's 7, and then 3 at 10, and maybe 2 or whatever the math is, right? And so I oscillate in and out to give them a little bit of exposure to that. So by the end, they've run some, but way less than what people think. It's not every run. So I think a lot of people who get to the line banged up, injured, or underperform, or knock it out of the park. And that's the other side of things. I think I set up this like bad picture. It's just risk reward is the biggest thing, right? It's just risk reward. Like if you're willing to put it all on the line, like for the reward, like you got to know that you're really risking it. And I don't know. It doesn't always yield the results. And you see this in athletes consistently. So whereas some programs might be like 30, 40% of their long runs are at goal pace, I would say mine is more like 15 or 20 in the build. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. If marathon is 8:30 pace, I feel like people are, it's around a minute. They're probably starting at, if it's 8:30 pace is the marathon pace, like they're probably starting their runs at like 9:45, 9:30, and working their way down into it because I really focus on progression. What's up, Jenny from the A? Jenny from the A was at Peloton on my birthday weekend, and she came and said hello, which I loved. I really appreciate that. What's up, Jenny? How you doing? So yeah, it could be, there's a lot of running. I would say it's at least 30, 45 seconds to a minute slower. And again, a lot of this is like retroactive. Like I don't know what people are going to run. Like I'm focusing on that and like trying to put the pieces together, but I have some other workouts and stuff that I can kind of make some extrapolations to. But as my clients are on here, some of them, it's like they're like, what do you like, how do you figure it out? And I'm like, it's just like a lot of experience, some wisdom, and like trying to get to know you as an athlete. And then I set up a range that it's like, like we pick a range of times that is around 10 to 15-minute range for the marathon. And it's like we start with bronze, like bronze level goal, which is like if things don't go great and you have to problem solve a lot of the day, what are we going to walk away with? Like, hey, we'll take that. Like it didn't go perfect, but we'll take that time. All right. And then silver is like kind of what we both agree, like we can, like 99% sure we can hit. And so that's where we set our pacing strategy from. And then gold is just a little bit faster. Like if you get to have like 15, 16 miles and you feel really good, like, and you start picking it up and going off plan faster, like you can hit this time. So if someone's trying to run, let's say 345, like maybe their bronze is like 353, 345 is, sub 353 is bronze, sub 346 is silver, and sub 343 is gold. And so this helps set us up. Are you going to run New York City this year? No. I've only run 2 marathons, but I've coached a lot of them. So I really have no interest in running New York City Marathon. Jenny from the A is running it. Oh, and it's her first one. Yeah, Brittany, are you running it? So, um, yeah, uh, these days I run a little bit to keep things going there. Uh, and I've done many years of racing, and I think my running racing is, I would, if I'm going to race, I would either race on my bike. I enjoy it. It's a little bit more. I still get out there and run a bit. I still can do it. You will when I do, clearly. Yes, Nasreen. Okay, bossy lady. No, no, just the transporting and sitting and waiting and being in like, you know, like stuffs with people. It's, I like to be able to move around and, do my stuff. So I know this is a huge question and there is not a true answer, but if you want to increase your marathon speed, is it more the interval training? No, it's more the volume that you do. Excuse me. It's the more the volume you expose yourself to and absorb. Oh, Brittany is doing it. So yeah, time and time again, it's about doing more volume. But again, that's the simple answer. Is like try to sustain more volume. But I find that people increase things too quickly and too often. So, like my weekly volume for people might be like 30, 30 miles, 33, 30, or 33, 35 to 33, then, 37, 40, 35, and, like just going in those 3 week blocks, like Neil was asking. And whoever people on YouTube or Facebook, if you're curious, like put comments in and I can answer them and bring them up here. Um, oh, you're training with John Ferry. Yeah. So you're in good hands. And Brittany, where are you from? Yeah, you're with John Ferry. So you're with Coach Ferry. So you're good. He'll get you to where you're going and need to go. So um, focus on what your coach is working on with you. So I should have asked if you're being coached. So, he might, like it depends on the athlete. Some athletes, I'm like, hey, we got to work on, making sure we keep the intensity there because we got away from it. Or, there's different things. But globally for the marathon, like being able to sustain more running is helpful. However, a lot of people make the mistake of just doing a lot and they get in some really tricky places. So, okay. So, Jenny, I've been using Hyper S leg sleeves for every run for 34 minutes, the best part of 2 years. Yeah, so you're used to that. They do wonders. They basically push, like generate more blood flow and, like kind of pump the blood in and out and in and out and flushes it out. So it's very good. So, oh, Jacksonville Beach, Florida. Yeah, we got all the heat here. Yeah, I have a client in Tallahassee, 2 in St. Pete, uh, 1 in Tampa. I've had people in Miami, I have a client in West Palm. I had a client in Fort Lauderdale. A lot of Florida peeps. Anyway, Jenny from May. So any concerns like with using Hyperice, just clarify so I can answer it. And then I'm going to hang out for like another minute, like one more question, because I got to make a phone call with a client that I have to touch base with. So just clarify, are you asking like any concerns with using the Hyperice sleeves for training or any concerns with training for your first marathon? And this is why I do these Monday musings to like get some of my ideas out there, grab some, content, um, answer some free questions and stuff. But like I also do consultations for people who aren't being coached. And this is where we can like really do the nitty gritty and I get a lot of good responses with that. So yes, only Hyperice for recovery. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, first of all, it's training prescription and load, so how much you're doing. So like no matter, like if you need multiple recovery modalities to handle the training is prescription is a little too much. All right, so if you need a massage once a month and Hyperice, and PT and acupuncture and these supplements and all this stuff, it's not gonna, like, I would say you're training too hard. All right. But if then the next thing is how many hours of sleep you're getting. We know that people getting less than 7 hours of sleep are 40% more likely to get injured. So you're really flirting with stuff there. So try to get your sleep, and naps count. Okay. Naps count. All right. And it's not just day to day, like, but they've done studies with, student athletes and stuff like that, like the Stanford basketball team. They made them go from 8 hours to 10 hours of sleeping, and elite athletes are like somewhere 10 to 12. Um, so they really can recover from the hard work they're doing. Their field goal percentage, so 3-point percentage, and their free throw percentage went up by 9%. So it wasn't just their aerobic capacity to run up and down the court, it was actually like shooting. So yes, naps count. And then yeah, and then only hyper ice. I think that's great. That sounds like your training's appropriate and you're not beating yourself up. I have recovery boots as well. I think that they're fantastic. I'll just say is sometimes it's good to just feel what's happening. So like aerobic runs, like after aerobic runs, I'm not really using them. I'll use them after long runs. I'll use them after VO2 max. But aerobic runs and threshold, I try not to get them in too much. I want the inflammation there and the body to adapt to that. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's at the end of the day, if they're keeping you healthy, that's fine. But I see no issues with them. All right. Yeah, down to one sleep. Yeah. Brittany, have you tried the new Martin gel liquid? The new one? I don't. What's the new one? I'm gonna look it up. I mean, are you saying Martin gels are new? Yes, I've used them and I love them. If they have a new one, I'm curious. Let's see. Oh, new gel mix 480. Oh yeah, of course. It's only available to members. All right, let's see. All right. See, they're just so this is like where it's just making it easier to like, yeah, yeah. It's a combo of the liquid and gel, so it's just basically like it's giving you 480 calories, right? How many calories? Where is it? Back down, fact, description. Yeah, so it's still 120 grams. I don't know. I have to research more about it, but I mean, sometimes some of the stuff is for elite athletes or athletes who are like really doing long stuff, and you need to like make it easy. Like, so for long rides, like when I'm out there for like 4 to 6 hours, like if I could have that, like, and there's no access to places, like all I need is water, and I can dump that in, and I get carbs. Like, that's fine. But I can get that with a pack of Nerds or a Gatorade or something like that. So it's something to think about. What's up, Corinna? Um, Yeah, I'd be curious to what it's like. I mean, I like their drink mix, but it's hard to get it mixed. Like I shake it up and do all the stuff, the night before. So but I love to take like it's just like light sugar, and then the gels I love. I don't like the liquidy ones. It like gets all over you, and if you are conscious with not ditching the wrappers, it gets on your clothes and stuff like that. I don't like the pudding ones. It's like too thick, and you're trying to breathe. So Martin gels I love. So I've liked all their stuff. Um, so yeah. What's up, Testy 2? How you doing? Claudia, never second just came back with the freeze gel, not use it for a marathon, but for training. Interesting. Is that like it's just like frozen and you can carry it? Because like athletes are doing more slushy stuff in the tour and stuff. For your clients, what is your average weekly mileage range for both half and full? Depends on the athlete. That's the lamest answer ever, but it really does. I mean, some athletes, we're running a full, we're averaging probably like in the 50s with exposure to 60s, and then so when we do a half, we're probably averaging 50s with some exposure, or like same thing. But I'll move. Well, actually, I'll back off a little bit so we focus a little bit more on the faster stuff. Some clients like have done 60 miles a week up to 90, and I'm making them do 45, and they're getting better. So it just all depends on. So we do like an inventory, like I inventory over the first like 6 to 8 weeks of just kind of what like qualities they need, and as they start racing, we start building out their speed profile. What's your 5K time, and what's the equivalent VO2 max, and then what's your longer stuff, right? Shorter and longer. And so we start saying like, oh, you're more your VO2 max equivalent is higher in the marathon than is your 5K. Like we need to develop that skill because it'll make you a better athlete. So I got people, I mean, I coach 40 people from 8th grade to 72 years old, cycling, triathlon, running, marathons, some 5K focus. Some are doing the majors, like full range. So I'm not stuck. If you have a coach that's like, I believe in this, go the other direction because humans don't work that way. What's up, Robin? Just curious if it's worth it. What's up, Josh? I think the Martin stuff is, I don't know. I've always gotten them for free. Excuse me, I haven't always gotten for free. I've gotten for free and it kind of hooked me on them. So like if I go spend money, I'll spend money on um, Martin gels for nutrition. Like carby, I prefer Tailwind for training. I really do like the Martin stuff for racing. It's like lighter, especially for triathlon and stuff, like on the bike. Um, the pudding is horrible. Yeah, like goo, chocolate, and stuff like that. It's like you can't do it. But I'm curious to what people use here. I know Josh is like really into all this stuff too, so I'm curious, Josh, what you've been using. But I mean, I'll use whatever's on the course. I'm not particular that way. I'm not bringing my own shit on races. Like use up what's there. Um, Less I have to carry, less I have to worry about. I'll bring like emergency gel with me on stuff. But otherwise, I'm just grabbing everything and getting in as much as I can. Plus, I fucking paid for that race. I'm taking those gels, so I'll take them and hold on to them, and I'm not like grabbing handfuls of them. Um, but yeah, it's yeah, whatever. It's I'm not afraid to take some. Oh, so never second freeze. Yeah, freeze it and then bring it. Oh yeah, that sounds delish. Yeah, no problem, Brittany. And I mean, Coach Ferry's great too. I mean, he's been around the block as well. I've had a lot of great conversations with him. You're in good hands. Cliff blocks with caffeine. Yeah, so Cliff blocks, I love them for like rides and stuff. I don't like it necessarily for, like for racing though. I'm like liquid and gel. Like I'm more on that end of the spectrum. For training, like for like harder stuff, like I'll and longer rides, I'll bring the Cliff blocks because it's just easy and I can get some stuff in there. But yeah, I for running, I don't mind. Like again, if the slower I'm going, the more solid it can be. So if I'm just like out for a long run, I actually prefer the chews than gels because I just save the gels for the races. Um, okay, night, Claudia. Yes, aerobic run tomorrow. So Josh, Tailwind drink mixes or Martin drink mix for races, but Tailwind gets me the carbs and sodium person I need. Martin, I limit, but drink mix for the one. Yeah, I mean, I think we all kind of, if you've been around a while and you're really racing, especially for cycling and triathlon. So Josh is a triathlete and runner, for those who don't know. And so, and congrats, I saw you're starting to take on some clients. Um, I think that's very cool. For the past year, I'm like, I need to develop some content for coaches directly or have like a little, mastermind or something or help some younger coaches out or experienced coaches. Newer coaches. But yeah, so like Tailwind is just easy to get. It's not that expensive and it has electrolytes in it. The issue with Martin is it doesn't have electrolytes in it. And if you put electrolytes in it, it technically ruins the gel. So you don't get the gel bit of it. So it's like then you got to consume salt somewhere else and it just gets a little confusing. Martin and Never Second, yeah. Never Second I liked. It was a little too liquidy for me. I didn't like it's fine taken down, but it's just like, what do you do with that later? Martin drink and scratch drink mix, yeah. The scratch drink mix I don't like the high carb mix, like it doesn't mix in well. I'll drink it, but Tailwind is like Tailwind for me by far. And I had friends who talked about it for like 5, 6 years, and I was just like, yeah, whatever, whatever. And then I grabbed the bag. The Tailwind is by far like flavor wise and simplicity. Buy the 50 serving bag and 100 calories a scoop. Just what are you trying to do? Right? It's just so easy. And the flavor is like 100 calories. It's like enough to like taste all right. The other stuff is like junk at 100 calories. And then 200 is like, I like that, to 300 is a little sweet. And then when you get into 400 calories, it starts getting really sugary and you get that like mouth. It's no bueno. So enjoy your wine. I will. Thank you so much for your advice. I hope to meet you at New York City Marathon. Yeah, I will be there at the New York City Marathon. I'm not racing it, but I'll be there. I'm doing the group coaching for Team Wilpers. So we got some cool things happening down there. So yeah, I'll be down there for it. And definitely say hello and who you are. I meet a lot of people online and different stuff, and I can't always put a name to a face, but once I meet you, I will. You can't find one? So what flavor of Tailwind do you like? So I'm a like, yeah, awesome, Nicole. So the DeWalter melon, so from Courtney DeWalter. So it's watermelon and lime and sea salt. That's like my favorite one. Like favorite one. I don't do caffeine for training and stuff like that. I don't consume caffeine normally. I don't drink coffee and stuff. So I like stuff without caffeine. And then I am a grape bubblicious, like the most favorite flavor in the world is grape bubblicious or like grape soda. So grape, um, the grape one I really enjoy too, but that's not for everyone. The raspberry looks good. I haven't had that yet. It's just like, it depends on how many scoops you're doing. So if you get a bag of it, it's 200 calories, right, for the variety mix. And so maybe it's a little too sweet for you. And if you just get the bigger bags, like it makes these, they have 30 and 50 serving. I'm not sponsored by them. I wish I was. Tailwind high carb. Yeah, I haven't tried the high carb yet, but lemonade, endurance fuel. Yep. Yeah, they're all good stuff, man. And then I have like from a health food store or nutrition shop. It's not a health food store, it's a nutrition shop. I have like electrolytes in liquid form, and it's just this like big bottle, and I just squeeze some extra electrolytes if I know, because I'm a heavy sweater and I lose a lot of electrolytes. Okay, so you didn't you didn't like grape. That's okay. I that's why I said I think people aren't going to love the grape. I love grape, but the watermelon, I'm telling you, I haven't met a single person that didn't like the watermelon one. It's not a fake watermelon. It's delish. So those are good too. I think Josh, this endurance fuel raspberry, I think that has caffeine. Anyways, well, I love the convo. I appreciate it, but I do have to eat dinner. Appreciate you all. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for joining Monday Musings. If you haven't yet, sign up for my newsletter. It's in my bio. It comes out on the 1st and 15th of every month. And sometimes I'm once in a blue moon I miss, but 1st and 15th of every month, and it's free, and it's a 5-minute read, and it's the art of training. I try to talk about like a problem I see, how people solve it, why I don't think that's right, and how I solve it, and how you should look at it, right? And it's a great way to get access to me. And there's some things that I'm looking to build out in the next several months to give access to people who are there. So sign up for it. You won't be disappointed, and engage here on the newsletter. People respond. I love it. I answer them. Yeah, DeWalter melon is delish. So uh, yeah, so the endurance, yeah, it does. Yeah, that's what I thought. The raspberry does, which is delish, but I stay away from that stuff. If I had caffeine, I'd end up on a police blotter. Just for races, I do use it for races, and it's like longer bike races and triathlons, and it's like I'm in this purgatory of when I'm all done, I'm like exhausted, but I'm amped up on freaking caffeine. Should do a high rocks. High rocks, yeah. I've done a lot of racing. I'm focusing on getting people to do the races. Anyway, cheers, everyone. Sign up for the newsletter. Appreciate you. See you next week. And don't hesitate to engage. Later.